A very warm welcome to the Geo Institute Masterclass series. Today, we begin with the session 1 out of 5 on the topic Understanding Sports Management Beyond the Game. I am Mayuri from Geo Institute and I am delighted to take you through the session today. As India changes gears to become a sporting nation, sports management is ready for a rapid growth. Just like the tech industry grew rapidly in the early 2000s, sports management in India is now reaching a turning point. For business management aspirants, this is the perfect time to explore sports management as a career. But what does such a career really look like? Is it about managing athletes, teams, or events, or building tools and scaling the ecosystem? To help us explore all of these questions, we are joined today by Mr. Siddharth Raman, CEO of Sports Interactive, and Professor Anirudh Kalia, Associate Professor of Practice at Geo Institute, who oversees our sports management for postgraduate program. Over to you, Anirudh, sir.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Mayuri. Hi, Siddharth. Very warm welcome to and giving us the time to join our first in the series of 5 webinars. Welcome to all the participants who've taken time out to join. We will make sure that this is worth your while. Now, if you ever checked out the score on the Google homepage for a cricket match, or looked at the highlights on Star Sports, or hummed your favorite team anthem from Pro Kabaddi, chances are that you are consuming the work done by Sports Interactive. I'm delighted to see today Siddharth on the screen with me, and it is his team that works that magic for all of you. We are going to talk about a bunch of things, including careers in sports, state of fandom, growth of Olympic sports in India. And Siddharth is the best person who, from his perch, has an inside view, or if I may add the word trackside view, of what happens in the world of sport. So welcome, Siddharth. Thank you very much again. And my first question to you is that Sports Interactive does a lot of work with a lot of sports. Till last count that I remember, Sports Interactive was supporting more than 25 sports in our country and abroad. Could you paint a picture of a typical fan that you see from your perch, Siddharth?
Thank you, Anirudh. Firstly, thank you for having me here, and good evening to everyone who's joined this webinar. And thanks for that warm introduction as well. And at Sports Interactive, we're extremely privileged to work with some of the largest sports organizations in the world, and also help them connect more meaningfully with sports fans. We believe we are 600 plus sports fans who come to work every day to make life better for people like us. And that also gives us a good view of the evolving stages of fandom, if I can call it that. And at a very fundamental level, I think we break down the different stages of the fan life cycle, and this is how typically fans evolve. And this is full disclosure, not my framework, but it is Philip Kotler's framework from a book he's written on separately on sports marketing, which is the 7 stages of fandom. Right, you start off as someone who's being indifferent, but then something catches your fancy. You see a reel on social media, or you see a catchy ad on TV, and it's something that piques your interest, and you move from indifferent to eyeballs because you want to start. You're interested in finding out more, and you want to watch the sport. It could be on your phone, it could be on television, and that's where majority of Indian sports fans are, the eyeballs category, right? So if you're indexing it on a base of 100, easily about 80% are eyeballs, right? And given the size of our population, it is an extremely lucrative audience for advertisers to go after. But then if you go beyond eyeballs, there are 5 other stages which we would love to take organizations through and fans through for our customers. Post the eyeballs, you have wallets, where you are willing to part with your hard-earned money to buy a ticket, buy an OTT subscription, go and watch, and then essentially part with your time and money both to engage with your favorite sport. From wallets, there's collectors, which is where you're willing to spend even more money to go and not just watch ticket, buy tickets and buy an OTT subscription, but even buy the jersey of your favorite team, a merchandise from your favorite team, right? And today, that's where a lot of IPL and Premier League fandom is in the collectors and wallets stage in India. Wallets and collectors for IPL and collectors for Premier League, given the kind of fandom that the English Premier League clubs have here. And then from collectors, you have attachers, which is essentially people who travel across the country or across the world to go and watch their favorite teams or watch their heroes play. In India, we've got this, the culture of fan clubs for IPL franchises, for ISL franchises, traveling fan groups that go to that go to away games to support their teams. There's also a slowly booming sports tourism industry where you can, travel the world to watch the Indian cricket team play, or go and watch a FIFA World Cup or a Formula One race. And that's also, the attachers mentality. Then there is the insiders, which is very, very few fans actually make it. And this is where the fans are so famous that the players know them, right? And the world knows them as crazy fans. And there are a couple of them that come to mind. One is Sudhir Gautam, the gentleman who paints himself in the tricolour and has been supporting Sachin Tendulkar for almost a couple of decades now. He's one of the most recognizable Indian cricket fans anywhere in the world. And the reason he's an insider is he was the only fan called into the dressing room on 2nd April in 2011 at the Wankhede Stadium to hold the trophy, World Cup winning trophy, with the rest of the team. Because the team knew him so well, and they felt he also had a role, or a small part to play in their journey. And then there's in the NBA, there's 𝘚𝘦𝘴𝘴𝘵, Indian origin gentleman who moved to Toronto, started off as doing menial jobs over there, but he found his connection with the city by supporting the Raptors at the NBA, and he's been inducted now in the NBA Hall of Fame as one of the fans, of the Raptors. So that were the insiders. And finally, the ensnared, which is fans who where they're too emotionally invested, and sometimes it leads to adverse reactions where you wouldn't want too many fans to go. And this is your football hooligans or the riots that take place in certain cities after a team doesn't do well, or their team doesn't do well, or sometimes after the team wins. Sometimes it comes out that way. So there are 7 different stages of fandom that we try and take our customers through. And if you see specifically in India, just to recap, a majority of them are eyeballs. You've got about 80% over there. There's about, call it 10% to 15% in the wallets, which is going and buying tickets, or OTT subscriptions. And then there is the attachers, the guys, the people who actually go, and the collectors and attachers, the guys who invest in merchandise and travel towards sport as well.
Yeah, so absolutely great start to that, Siddharth. One thing that comes to my mind, Siddharth, is that because of, I think, technology and digital engagement and the immersiveness that an experience now offers, fan is now actually the 11th or the 12th player of the team, right? In many ways, he's the guy who's rooting for you on the track side. Now, you, as the head of Sports Interactive, do a lot of work for companies to kind of create fandom and create fan experiences. In your view, how's the fandom evolved? Talk about cricket first, because we are a cricketing nation, so to say, but also do talk about the state of fandom when it comes to Olympic sports, Siddharth.
Yeah, so I'll start with cricket. And if you take a step back and look at a macro view of how fandom has evolved, right? It started with passive consumption, which was essentially, consuming radio commentary or reading a match report or watching a hazy broadcast on a black and white TV, which then became color, and then that's how it started. But now we are in the middle of active participation, right, where fans have a role to play. Even during a live match, whether it's sharing their opinion on social media, which then gets captured on live broadcast, or playing games that are second screen activities to help them predict what's going to happen in the next ball, and they feel even more connected to what's happening on the field of play. And technology's played a big role in making that happen, right? What technology has essentially enabled is fandom is no more just local and match day; it's now global and everyday. Right? That's the shift that technology has driven, and this is not just for cricket in India, but all major sports across the world. Right? Coming to the second part on fandom for Olympic sports. So at Sports Interactive, we've been working with the IOC now for more than 5 years, more than 6 years actually. And we've been through a cycle of 2 games in Tokyo and in Paris. And what has been supremely encouraging for us is to see the growth of fandom in pure, the scale of numbers on digital for Olympic sports in these 6 years, right? To give you a stat, India was a top 3 market for Olympics in terms of digital consumption during Tokyo and Paris both, right? In spite of the fact that we were nowhere in the top 3 when it came to the medal count over there, but just the fact that you have such a large population here, that a population also is keen on following sport, right? So that I think is very encouraging. But I think the challenge also over there is how do you keep that fandom alive in between the games, right? The 4-year gap, because it definitely spikes during games time. There is a lot of interest, awareness. Indians make it to quarterfinal, semi-final, or the medal match. You obviously will, it does spark a lot of interest. But then how do you use that to build momentum in between the games? And that's something that we try and do a lot of using digital and tech, right? So it could be stuff around how do you not just celebrate medals, but how do you celebrate the fact that if someone's qualified for the Olympics, they are technically amongst the best in the world. Right? That itself, qualifying for the Olympics itself, is a matter of pride. So we should not just celebrate medals, but we should also celebrate the fact that someone from our country is made it to the Olympics. How do you celebrate, or how do you bring to life the backstories of some of these athletes and the challenges and what they've gone through and what they've had to actually overcome to get to the place that they are, right? Telling those stories and bringing that to life. Educating people about the nuances of sport, right? It took one Neeraj Chopra gold medal for everyone to even realize what javelin is, right? Or understand the nuances of javelin. Same thing for, when the Indian hockey team qualifies for a medal match, everyone wants to become an expert in the penalty corner and drag flicks, right? So how do you provide the right content to the right fan at the right time for them to be able to have those bragging rights and talk about and build, use that as a way to build awareness and education for the sport. So for Olympics, that's how we go about it, where there is, you obviously need heroes to spark their interest. But once that interest is sparked, can you build the momentum to build fandom for the sport, fandom for not just games time, but in between the games as well, which is a bit of a long-term play, but we've definitely made progress over the past 6 years.
Yeah, incredible. One thing that I'm reminded of, Siddharth, is that people follow heroes, not just sports. And I think it takes one hero to kind of a country to come to an ignition point in terms of fandom. At Geo Institute, we are fortunate that we get a lot of visits from people who run sports in the country and the world. And during one such visit, which was by the Director General of the South Asian Athletics Federation, we got a very interesting insight from him. He shared with the class that the day Neeraj hit the gold medal at the Tokyo Olympics, next day, there were no javelins available in any sporting goods shop across the country. And he was getting frantic calls. His state federations were getting frantic calls that there are no javelins available. Imagine in a country where we hardly see anybody use or practice javelin throw. This was the state on the morning after the gold medal. So it kind of it's not just fandom for a fan for a sport. It also creates the appetite to play, and hence I think sport creates appetite not just to watch, consume, but also to get on the field, wear your shoes, gear, and get on the field. And that's what fascinates me about sport, that it creates impact on multiple dimensions, both from the fan side as well as the budding athlete side. Now, Siddharth, I keep coming back to the work that Sports Interactive does. A lot of sports companies are not listed, and a lot of experiences are not in the public domain, especially things like consumption or users. Somehow the sports industry is very, very cagey about sharing that data. If there's one guy in our industry who has all of that data, it is you and your team. So without pushing you too hard or making you disclose stuff that you guys are not comfortable about, talk to me about how you have seen Olympic fandom evolve in terms of numbers, especially because you've seen both the Tokyo and Paris Olympics. You've seen athletics. You've seen multiple other sports like wrestling and the lesser known sports like table tennis and badminton. How do you think that fandom has evolved in terms of numbers?
Yeah, so you're right in terms of not being able to disclose confidential data. So I will not be able to give specific numbers, but I can definitely give ranges to give you a sense of the scale, right? So to give you a sense of Olympic numbers, right? So I'll break it down into two. One is just actual audience numbers in terms of fan base, and then second is the consumption numbers, right? Which is how much time spent, how many views, etc. So when it comes to the audience size, for the Olympics and for Olympic sports, it's in the tens of millions, right? And you've sold cricket at Star, so you'll know cricket is in the hundreds of millions, right? So that's a bit of the difference in scale. But I think the interesting part is when it comes to consumption, those tens of millions are driving billions of video views, are driving 500 million engagements, right? On digital platforms and social media. So what that shows is even though Olympic sports have a relatively smaller base compared to cricket, the depth of engagement is supremely encouraging. These people are not coming; they are not casual fans. They are not floats. These are fans who genuinely are investing time and effort in wanting to know more about the sport, their favorite players, their favorite athletes, and supporting them. Right. So the depth of engagement is what I think stands out as a big differentiator for Olympic sports, and I think that's supremely encouraging to see for a country like India, where there is no dearth of entertainment options for us, right? And for Olympics to drive that kind of depth of engagement and consumption is extremely satisfying.
Yeah, I was looking at some statistics on cricket, Major League Cricket in the US, and it was fascinating for me to see, Siddharth, that MLC seems to be doing very well. They have 3 stadiums and they have 34 matches. And their last season statistics is that they had 45% increase in followers with 406 million social engagements, right? Now, that is a big number for a country like US, which is probably 330 million population. Not everybody follows sports. These are big numbers, right? 54 million global viewers, which is, again, I was fascinated. I said, you know what? This seems to be the wheels are turning in the US for cricket. The one statistic that I was really happy about when I saw it was there's a 84%, the ticket buyers in the stadiums are 84% first time buyers. Because cricket is new, a lot of people are buying tickets for the first time in US and going with the family and friends to stadium. So obviously, I think it is for the fan to kind of move the flywheel of a sport in any country. And while the athlete is important to do what he does on the field and to excel, but the fan is actually the flywheel that starts moving the sport beyond. We see that in pickleball in the country. I was talking to someone whose company lays the floors and the courts for pickleball. It was hard for me to believe, Siddharth, that the number of outstanding orders for pickleball in Mumbai, Ahmedabad, and Surat are close to 2,200. Wow. 2,200 is the order book for a guy who makes pickleball courts in Mumbai, Surat, and Ahmedabad. Now, that is clearly a pointer that the sport is gaining the groundswell that it needs to grow.
Correct.
Right? Correct. Now, coming to the career side of it, Siddharth, I've been in sports for some time. You spent the better part of your life in sports, and running a business in sports. One of the things that I see when I talk to aspirants who aspire to get into the sports management side of the business is that I find that a lot of students and aspirants, they look at what is happening on the front of the screen. and they take a career decision basis that. Like, I'll give you an example. So before Geo Institute, I was in MICA, and I had a student walk up to me and ask me that, sir, how many, if I, get into the sports business side of sports, how many years will it take me to reach the auction table of IPL? Right? Now, that is one ambitious thing to say, right? And it also kind of pointed at me that, what, career decisions in sports are being taken from sitting in the fan's chair, right? Business in sports or business management in sports is not like that. So please do demystify this for our viewers and our audience, Siddharth.
No, that's a great question, and I think it's important to give a sense of reality. I won't say harsh reality, but at least, like you said, bust a few myths about working in sport, right? And like similar to what you said, right? A lot of people come and tell me I'm a big sports fan, I'm a passionate sports fan, and I want to work in sport. Yeah. Now, it's great that you're a passionate sports fan. It's great that you love sport, but that doesn't automatically qualify you to become to earn a place in the sports industry, especially as you enter, right? Like any other industry, you have to work supremely hard to build your career in sport, right? Having passion for sport is a great enabler to make that happen, right? But the basic principles of putting your head down, working hard, learning, making mistakes, learning from that, networking with the right bunch of people, finding the right mentors, investing in upskilling yourself, all of that doesn't change, right? And I honestly feel having the ambition to sit at the auction table during the IPL, it's a good one to have, but I don't think that's an ambition. You're setting yourself up for failure, because there are only 40 people who actually do that, right? So are you gunning to be in that 40, or you can still make a meaningful enough career, be happy, and be satisfied by working in sport by doing so many other things? For me, when I started out before getting into the sports industry, my simple ambition was I wanted an accreditation to be at the ground, to walk across the stands. I didn't want to feel like I'm bound to a stand because of the ticket I have. Working in sport will allow me to walk in and out of every stand and go around the ground.
Just the accred.
Ambition.
I just want the accred.
Correct. I just want the accred to be able to do that, right? That was my ambition to get into sport. But once I got in, I realized, there's so much more that you can do beyond this, right? And then this can't be the end goal for someone's career. So I think that's important. And I'll also share advice that someone gave me, which I found extremely helpful. One is just by saying you're working in sport. When you make up your mind to work in sport, please understand, for the first decade of your career, you're not going to watch a single live game, because that's when you're going to be the busiest, right? And that's going to be work for you. When the entire world is enjoying a game and they are switching off and it's leisure time for them, that's the busiest time for you, right? Whether it is public holidays, weekends, prime time on weeknights, all of that is when the biggest sporting action happens, right? So you're going to be working then. Be ready for that, right? Two is, at the start of your career, what someone told me was, if you want to understand the business of sport, if you want to understand sports marketing, you have to roll up your sleeves and get operationally involved. That's the only way you're going to be able to understand sport. It's like how they say to build a career in marketing, you need to spend 3 years in the market in sales. Only if you understand what a TSM goes through, or what a sales executive goes through, how distributors need to be handled, how consumers make purchase decisions at the shelf, is when you'll become a great brand manager. Same way over here, if you want to understand how the sports industry works, or if you want to build a career and reach a senior level in sport, the only way is to actually roll up your sleeves and do the work yourself, right? If you're coming in with the ambition of, I'm going to sit in an AC cabin and I'm going to be sitting during a live game in the lounge, sipping a drink and watching the game, and I'll come on TV, or I'll be at the auction table, never going to happen, right? That's when you're going to be the busiest. And the third is, if you're a sports fan and you say, I'm a big fan, I want to work in sport, there are millions of other people saying the same thing today. What's going to be the differentiator for you, right? If you want to stand out, being a sports fan is very different from working in sport. And working in sport requires you to build an understanding of the business of sport. Like if you tell me you're a Mumbai Indians fan, I'm not going to ask you what is Rohit Sharma's batting average, in Mumbai when he's played for MI. I'm going to ask you, what is your business model? What is the largest chunk of revenue stream for them? Who's the front of jersey title sponsor, and what value did their deal close? If you have you gone through the publicly listed financial statements of theirs? What's their year-on-year revenue growth been? Have you analyzed their balance sheet? That's what truly makes you someone passionate about wanting to work in sport, and that's a great filter for me, for people who actually do that, because that shows a true inclination. Otherwise, the easiest thing to say, I'm a sports fan, I want to work in sport, but you've not put in the hard yards, you've not put in the hard work to actually understand what the business of sport entails. So that's the third thing I would say for anyone wanting to get into sport. These three things I think are supremely critical.
And the weekend, Siddharth.
Yes.
So that's the hard learning that I had in my first year in sports, is that while everybody else is relaxing on the weekend, you are actually not.
Yes.
And all the big games happen on a Saturday or a Sunday or a public holiday.
Correct.
And you are not at home. You are not with family. You are busting your, thing on, escorting someone to the stadium, or
Correct.
servicing a client, or activating a sponsorship,
Correct.
or merely managing event operations.
Yeah.
Or that goddamn refrigerator on the kabaddi court is not working for a sponsor.
Correct.
So there are hundreds of things that are on your mind.
Correct.
I think one of the key things that we have learned, and we always talk this about in the classroom, is that sports comes at a big sacrifice of your weekends.
Yes.
Especially if you're an events and operations guy, there are not going to be many weekends for you. And we're not trying to dissuade the young minds who are, on this webinar with us. But I think it's very important for students to take calls with their eyes open.
Yeah.
Be pragmatic about their choices.
Correct. But I think the flip to that is it's extremely fulfilling and satisfying, right? Once you've gone through that and you see the end output and outcome of the work that you put in, and the whole world sees it, right? Nothing can be more gratifying than that. So it's not all just glamour. I think like any other industry, there's a lot of hard work and dedication required. It's just that a lot of it is required in this industry on public holidays, weekends, and prime time on weeknights.
Correct. So in the, that India is bidding for hosting an Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of governance level changes that the government has, initiated, and a lot of those changes are actually triggering a sort of a revolution in sports.
Yeah.
There are kids who are, joining the teams, and new leagues are springing up. Do you think, Siddharth, this is a good time for a student to think about a career in sports management?
It's never a bad time. Let me put it that way. But this is absolutely a good time, especially given everything that's happening in the world of sport, and leading up to not just the 2036 Olympic, but even the 2030 Commonwealth Games bid, right? We want to that will be treated as a dry run for Olympics, for hosting the Olympics. So absolutely, right? And I think anyone who's looking to get into sport today should consider themselves extremely fortunate and privileged to be living in a time like this, versus 25 years ago, where the opportunities were so limited, and the supply was significantly, the demand, the supply of jobs was significantly lower than the demand for jobs at that point in time, right? This now that the opportunities, the nature of the opportunities, the kind of companies that allow you, give you exposure to work in sport, is significantly higher than even probably what it was 5 years ago, and it'll be the same 5 years from now as well, right? So I think, which is why I said it's never a bad time to want to work in sport, and with everything that's happening from a sports development perspective in our country right now, massive opportunities for everyone.
Yeah, and also, if I may add, Siddharth, that a career in sports management is not akin to a traditional marketing sales career in a stable and a mature FMCG company. The way we see it at Geo Institute is that we do a lot of we give a lot of reality check to our students. We keep their feet firmly on the ground, but we keep their head held high in the sky, right? And that's the way we drive the program. We make sure that they understand the nuts and bolts, but they go with their eyes open into the industry. one thing that I'd like to, still know from you is that, in your opinion, with so much of information and so much, noise around us, and Sports Interactive has 800 strong team. In your view, what are the kind of youngsters that typically succeed in a company like Sports Interactive?
So I think it has nothing to do with sport.
Yeah.
It is the same fundamental principles of coming in with that hunger, passion to learn, and giving it their best, right? Not coming with a sense of entitlement, but coming with a sense of this is an opportunity for me to learn, to grow, to build my career. And there have been so many people who come in like that in the organization who are now in positions of leadership within the company as well, right? I myself have been fortunate to have worked with the right kind of mentors and bosses who backed me, who fast tracked my career growth on the back of on the back of them seeing me bring that passion, ambition, and hunger to succeed come through. Don't come in with a sense of entitlement at any point in time. Come in with the intent to learn, and come in with a mindset of there's this saying in Hindi, koi kaam bada ya chota nahi hota, right? In the first 5 years of your career, first 5-7 years of your career, don't question why am I doing this, or should I be doing this, or this is below my dignity, or this is not the kind of work I was expecting to do. In the sport industry, even if you have to hammer a nail in a wall, or put up an LED perimeter board, please go ahead and do it, right? Because nothing will teach you better than that. I have carried, when my first job was in a Formula One team, I have carried helmets up 7 stories because the lift wasn't working and we had to store helmets somewhere. I've carried batches of 20 helmets up twice. When our RCB, the internet at the stadium broke down and we had sponsor commitments to make live from the venue, our office was 1.5 kilometers away from the stadium. I used to go from the stadium to office, connect to the internet, upload content, come back, capture more content, go back to the office and upload. I did this 3 times, right? I didn't watch a single ball of the game. But this was when Kohli and Gale were going crazy. I was going up and down between Chinnaswamy Stadium and UB Tower to ensure sponsor commitments are met when it comes to digital, right? And this was as a management trainee after a 2-year MBA, where you think if you have done an MBA, you'll have a chip on your shoulder and the world is at your feet. Nothing like that ever happens, right? So I think it's important to go in with that mindset and take whatever work comes your way, because everything's a learning experience in the first 5 to 7 years, and it'll all hold you in good stead going forward.
Great. So there's no shortcut.
Not one bit.
There's no elevator to career success. You have to carry the helmets.
The elevator's in your control. The speed of the elevator's in your control. If you think it's going to go move by itself, then it won't.
Yeah. So we've done some research at Geo Institute. I mean, we live, eat, and breathe sports all the time. And there is this very disturbing myth that was going around the sports industry that there are no jobs, right? I don't want to set modesty ablaze here, but let me tell you that the reality is far different. We've met, I think, more than 100 business leaders in sports in India and the world. And all of the 100 have said that I need great people, I don't find them, right? The same happened when I came and met you as well, right? So the fact remains, Siddharth, that sports is an industry which is growing, 1. 2, it needs people who can roll up their sleeves, do some great work and get ahead. However, there is always this myth coming around and which is being hammered that there are no jobs. We believe that there is no paucity of jobs, albeit it may not be at the level of a traditional or a conventional MBA. It does start lower in terms of your emoluments, etc. But so does in many other industries. So does it happens in the event industry, or so many industries that I know, entertainment industry I've worked in. So you have to start from the brass tacks. Now, if I segment the kind of sports careers in India today, we think that there are about 6 areas which are full of opportunity, and I will kind of enumerate these to you. Please do share as to what you think and what your thoughts are. The first and foremost is business development, sponsorship, and monetization. Now, the lifeblood of any sport is commercialization and revenues. What do you have to say on that? Where do you think this space is, and does it have enough opportunities? And
Absolutely. And this is general career advice, right? For you to want to grow in any company or in any industry, you need to be in the best way to do that is to be in a direct revenue generating role or as close as possible to a revenue generating role, right? And sales and sponsorship are the is the lubricant that keeps the sports organizations moving day in day out. And it's the toughest of all jobs. Right? You will know that better than me. Trying to sell a new property, a new sport, a new concept, or given the plethora of cricket happening across the calendar, how do you get the right kind of sponsors? There's a massive opportunity over there for someone to get in young, work with established companies and work with the right kind of mentors to be able to build a career there. And that's one of the best life learnings you'll get.
Also, Siddharth, I think that as the Indian sports market is over dependent on sponsorship revenues and not so much on the ticket revenues.
Yes.
Our ticketing revenues, gate revenues are lower than the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes the business development aspect in India in sports far more pronounced than a foreign country.
Very true. Very
right?
true.
The second area that we believe that there are opportunities are in grassroots. Now, we are a nation of more than 450 million youngsters. Our activity rate, as per published reports, Siddharth, are less than 8%. Less than 8% of our young population is actually active, which leaves a huge potential in terms of grassroots sports, right from recreational to competitive sports, getting people to play, and then once they start playing, trying to nurture them to build the talent. Now, the fact remains that in grassroots, there are some large companies or the companies that are becoming big. Like one that comes to my mind is one of the best in the country now is Sports Village, which is run by 𝘨𝘕𝘴𝘵 Majumdar, right? They've done some stellar work on sports. One thing that I wanted to ask you is that, do you think that grassroots sports can scale the careers that people aspire for, or it remains that you are limited to only working on the ground and running those programs and not really growing up in career? What are your thoughts around that?
Not at all. I think grassroots is a great way to understand some of the biggest challenges being faced by the sports industry and build a view of that as early as possible in one's career. Let me tie this back to one of the things that you said about the MNC, right? 85% ticket buyers were first-time ticket buyers because that country has a culture of
going out and watching a match,
going out and watching sport, going out and playing sport. It's a social activity. We are not there as yet. And one of the biggest catalysts to make that happen is going to be grassroots sports.
Right.
And grassroots sports ties back into nation building. There's a reason it's classified as CSR as well, right? So that corporates can also support this in the right way. Corporates will depend on the right kind of professionals to ensure that their CSR funds are being utilized the best way. So this is a massive for anyone who's who not just wants to build fandom but also identify the next superstar from India, the next world-beating athlete from India. You can contribute to making that happen by building a career in grassroots sports as well.
Right. Now coming to events and operations, Siddharth, every sport is actually an event.
Yes.
And a lot of sport are not very well commercialized into a league operation. So event and league operations are two very, very important elements of a sport being consumed or being watched. What do you think about event and operation? How are you seeing this place evolve with newer leagues coming in? Do you think there are enough jobs in this area as well?
I think there are enough jobs for someone to work across all these events because every event happens annually. They happen only for 2 or 3 weeks or a couple of months a year. But once you build that event management skill set and operation skill set, you get into a network of people who are doing, who have the learnings, who have the the best practices they know that have to be implemented, which can be brought in across all the events, right? For all the roles that I've done in sport, the one that has been the most stressful but the most enjoyable has also been for me being in event management and operations, right? Because the event at the end of the day is a broadcast product. You cannot be off by even a second, right? Especially when you've got live broadcast going everywhere. So the working under that kind of pressure, that kind of in that kind of environment, and being able to pull it off, and also seeing how people have built well-oiled machines to do this day in, day out. The moment a game is over, immediately how everything is packed up, loaded in trucks and taken out, all in the space of a few hours. Just looking at that well-oiled machine is a massive learning for anyone when it comes to operations and operational efficiency. And given the number of leagues that are happening in the country, I think for someone to pursue that, there are enough opportunities to keep themselves gainfully employed through the year.
I was sitting with some people from ProCam International that runs the Mumbai Marathon, and even though I work in the sports industry, I was like surprised to find that their preparation for the next year's Mumbai Marathon starts the day after the Mumbai Marathon.
Yes, correct.
So that
is very true.
I was taken aback. I said, hey, you know what? This is new.
Can you imagine what it takes to shut down half the city? Correct. No cars are allowed on Marine Drive. Sea-Link is shut for those 8 to 10 hours. So can you imagine the amount of preparation that needs to go in for that?
Yes. And there is this famous story that for the first time when they went to see the Mumbai traffic commissioner and say, you know what, we're going to shut down Mahim, Dadar, Prabhadevi. So he laughed and he said, you know what, when President of India comes, I give him a rolling shutdown. I don't shut down all the suburbs. And here you're walking in and telling me that shut down half the city.
And they have another interesting story for the broadcast of the live event as well, right? So they on Marine Drive, they needed the production required a helicopter to be flying around Marine Drive to capture, the event as it was taking place. But the helicopter couldn't be airborne for so long; it needed to be refueled. And the nearest refueling station was Juhu Airport. So for the helicopter to go to Juhu, come back, and then continue, they would have lost a lot of time to cover that. So they actually got permission to land the helicopter at Raj Bhavan, the governor's bungalow, on the lawn over there to refuel, which is right there at the tip of Malabar Hill, and then for the helicopter to come back and continue covering the. So that's what event operations teaches you as well, right? To find innovative solutions to problems that are invariably going to come. But the moment you find that solution, it's a story you can tell for the rest of your life.
Exactly. Now, coming to your core space of fan engagement and analytics, how do you think that is evolving, Siddharth? And with fragmentation of viewership, multiple platforms, how do you think this place is evolving for a person aspiring to build a career in this space?
So I think the biggest shift that's happening in this space is the advent of generative AI, and how that is going to how people use AI smartly to build their careers in this space. Right? Just to be clear, AI is not going to replace humans. AI is going to replace humans who don't know how to use AI. So what we look for are smart young folks who come in with that curiosity to be able to leverage AI to be able to deliver the right kind of tech-led solutions, right? So when I talk to people at Sports Interactive, the three things I look for, or the three areas that I want them to focus on, are technology, creativity, and curiosity. And curiosity helps you use AI properly and use AI the smart way as a collaborator. And if you do that, creativity and technology are outcomes of that, right? So for anyone coming in this space, obviously an basic understanding of technology, digital marketing, a certain degree of comfort with numbers, all that helps. But that's table stakes for anyone coming in. The difference is going to be in how you are using AI smartly to make yourself doubly more productive and more efficient, and tripling the quality of your work.
Wow. And I just chanced upon the fact that Sports Interactive has just developed, using AI, the musical anthems of 3 of the 10 pro kabaddi teams, 10 or 12 pro kabaddi teams, right? I was really thrilled to see, and I actually listened to the one that you've done for Bengal Warriors.
The rap
fantastic. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, look, within the organization, we've been talking about generative AI and adopting that. And generally, when you think Gen AI, you think about it from a coding technology perspective, right? Which is obviously happening. But then even our content and creative team said there are use cases for us that we can explore, right? And generally, we do these anthems for teams, which generally take, a end to end anywhere between, call it 10 to 20 days. These were done in 3 days, right?
Wow.
The kind of quality that you see that's come out is all done end to end in 3 days with the same set of people who are now equipped and know how to use AI much better and use AI to their advantage for them to become faster, better, efficient, and not compromise quality.
Amazing. So, do you think this is the future of sports content? What role would AI play in that, Siddharth?
I think the future of sports content is AI assisted creativity. You will still need a human in the loop. The human connection and the emotion that sport evokes is always going to need the human in the loop. But the human in the loop can be made much more effective with the right kind of AI models at his or her disposal. That's the future of sports content creation.
Wow. Well, with that, thanks for an engaging discussion. I mean, we can go for hours and hours on this call, Siddharth. But I see that we have some questions, and I'm going to request Mayuri to come back in and pop some questions at you and at me. Mayuri, over to you.
Yes, yes. Great conversation. I hope all the audience has also engaged and heard some very interesting conversation with you and Siddharth. So I will take first question. We have an attendee and he's asking, in India, most sports fans watch but don't play, unlike overseas where many fans also participate. How do these behaviors of fan affect the economics, administration, and business of sports? How does that make India a different market from overseas market?
Oh, that's a very loaded question. No, but thank you for
Economic
asking that.
distribution.
So I think it is it's a factor of the our culture as a society as well, right? Look, we for the longest time we were a developing economy, right? Wherever you see where people watch sport, play sport, is where they've been developed economies for quite a few decades, where the lifestyle, quality of life allows you to be able to have those luxuries. Sport for the longest time was seen as a luxury in India, right? The ability to play sport or ability to even pursue a career in sport. I think that is changing significantly, right? A generation or two ago, no one could have considered. I don't think there would have been a webinar like this on how to build a career in sport, right? Or there would have been sessions like this. But that I think is a big indicator for me as to what the future of the industry here is in India, and this is going to naturally affect the behavior of fans and the second order effects when it comes to economics, administration, business, sport. Because look, at a very fundamental level, any sports organization needs two stakeholders to be taken care of: the athletes and the fans. Everything else will fall into place if both of those are taken care of, right? Athletes and superstars have always been well taken care of in India. Now, there's more and more recognition about fans also being the need to take care of fans as well, and you'll see those impacts coming in. But I think the long story short of this is it's a societal thing as well, which we are making significant progress on. And who knows, maybe in a decade or two from now, playing sport or sport as recreation will be second nature to 50% of our population.
Absolutely. And just to add to what you said, Siddharth, is that the fact remains that when people start playing in a nation, that is the real measure of whether you are a sporting nation or not. Hosting an event is the easier side.
Correct.
It is the real test of becoming a nation is on how many people play. And the person who's asked the question has also mentioned how does the behavior affect distribution and administration in the sport. Let me also tell you that it was nothing but fans who prevented the 6 clubs of Premier League getting carved out into a Super League, right? So fans are powerful. People who play are extremely powerful. social media has given a voice to every fan and every player. And hence, the more people, the more participative and recreational sporting bench is larger in your country, the better it is for the health of sport. I hope that answers the question, Mayuri.
Yes, I hope so. We have another question, and we have the question from Zishan. He has done MBA and IT data analyst. He is asking, should I join sports industry?
Absolutely, you're welcome.
Yeah,
So,
same as above.
yeah, so I'll try and answer. Zishan, thank you for asking that question. Absolutely, I think it'll be great to have a trained talent in the sports industry. Let me also mention what Siddharth clearly alluded to earlier, that broadening your skills and knowledge from merely an IT analyst to layering it up with some generative AI, layering it up with skills that are required in the industry will make you a much hotter property in sports industry. Siddharth?
Absolutely, absolutely. It doesn't matter what your background is. That's never a deterrent to get into the sports industry. It can only be a strength and a compliment for you to make the most of it as you enter the industry. So I wouldn't use that as a deterrent. I think it's more a question of what is it that you want to do in the sports industry. If you have that clarity, and how the skill sets that you built or the competencies that you built will help you move in that direction is a question you will need to answer.
Exactly. Mayuri?
Great, great. So we have another question from Adhya Tandon. She's saying good evening, and she wanted to ask, as a fresher in this field, from where I should start, and are there any mandatory things to be kept in mind?
You want to take that, Anirudh?
Yeah, so the as a fresher, see, this is the beauty of the sports industry, that it accepts people from all walks of life. The guy who's working with you may be working with you shoulder to shoulder, maybe from a different realm of life altogether. So being a fresher is no disqualification. Absolutely not. Number two, in case you are interested, in case you are keen on a career, do a litmus test of your own belief by doing some internships. I would strongly urge you to pick up a couple of projects or an internship with a company in sports. A, it validates your belief, and B, it gives you the confidence to pursue it as a career. Siddharth?
Agreed. Similar to Zishan's question, your background shouldn't be a deterrent for wanting to get into sport. Like whether you're a fresher, whether you're someone with experience, I think the question is, what exactly in the sports industry do you feel you can add value to? And then how do you go about making that happen? That's the question that needs to be answered.
Absolutely.
Great. We have another question from Avantika. What's the pathway to get into grassroots development and talent acquisition?
Okay, so I'll take that one. So Adya, thanks for asking a question on grassroots. So grassroots is it's like it's a talent pathway that creates recognition for talent. It can start from running a school program or running a program which is funded by a CSR fundraise for a company. So there are companies in India which run these grassroots programs. You can start as a performance intern or a program intern. Program intern is a person who runs a program in grassroots. So imagine if you are working with women hockey players in a village in Orissa, and you have a grant from, say, a public sector company which has spent, say, 1 or 2 crores in building talent at grassroots levels in Orissa for hockey. So, as a performance intern, you will be working with that bunch of talent of women hockey players, helping them to excel. You will be supporting and taking their KPIs, how well they play. You will be maybe assisting a coach with some data points. You will be supporting the nutritionist and helping the people who are in your custodianship to get the best dietary advice. You will also have the interface with a psychologist who will come and mentally toughen the talent pool that you are handling. So you can start as a performance intern or a program intern in the grassroots. That's the first level of work that you do or get to do grassroots. The second kind of work, Adya, can be that you are on the fundraise side. While you will not do the fundraising yourself in grassroots on day one, but you will be assisting somebody who does manage the relationships with large corporates and the CSR decision makers. So these are the two broad areas, Adya, where you will start if you aspire for a career in grassroots.
Great. I think Adya has an idea about the question or a concern which she had related to both the topics. Now we are taking the last question for the evening. The question is, India is looking to host the Olympics, Commonwealth, and Youth Olympics. What kind of opportunities would it create for a sport professional?
Anirudh, you want to take that because I think this is right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, so India is a country which is aspiring to do a lot of things. See, in sports, there are two large things that have to fall in place. One is governance and one is grassroots. These are like the two magnets on either side of the room. And once these two magnets start working, all the other fillings in the room start, joining up. So grassroots and governance. Now, as India aspires to host an Olympic, it will do a multitude of things for us as a country. It will give us a visible, viable target to kind of build our country. And so it assists us to do some nation building. Why do you think the government has just passed the governance bill on sports? Why do you think the government has come down so heavily on doping in India? Right? Why do you think that the government is changing a lot of tribunals, putting in a lot of governance bodies and tribunals in the country? Why do you think the government is now rewarding, recognizing athletes which are below the elite level? So clearly, India is a country where sports is being urgently built up, um, like it happened with IT, or it happened when we were building infrastructure soon after independence. So it's a great time to look at a career in sports. However, sports is a big problem to solve. What I want to share with you and all the aspirants on the call and this thing is that sports is not a small problem to solve. We will not become a China in 2 years, right? Just to give you a statistic here, do you know how many medals did China win till 1984? You will be surprised by the answer. 0 gold medals at Olympics. China had 0 gold medals until 1984 Olympics. And do you know how many they have now after the Paris Olympics? I think more than 729, if I'm not wrong. Right? Look at what they've done in 40 years. So sports is a large problem to solve. You should be happy that you are young and India is now solving it comprehensively and getting after it. And we should get there. We would get there for sure.
Absolutely. So I think these questions took us on the end of today's event. I would like to ask Anirudh sir if you want to say something.
Oh, absolutely. So it's been a great discussion, Siddharth. As I said, I can just go on talking with you, right? But thanks for giving us this precious 1 hour of your time. I think both of us together have kind of demystified careers in sports, demystified sports as a landscape for aspiring minds that we so much need in our industry today. So thank you again, Siddharth. Much appreciate. Thank you, Mayuri, for being there and holding it all together for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Thank
so
you for
much.
having me.
And thank you so much, Mr. Siddharth and Professor Anirudh, because I believe all the participants must have got a very great understanding and perspective about the sports management industry in India, how this is revolving. And we hope and thank all our participants who have joined us today. And we look forward to welcoming all the participants for the next session. And thank you so much, Mr. Siddharth, again. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Bye-bye.